There was a shriek, a sharp splash, and a sizzling pop that rolled down Oak Ridge Way like somebody fired a starter pistol at a county fair pie eating contest. I didn't even have to peek over the cedar slat fence to know what had happened. On the other side, HOA Karen's $1,000 by drone, a sleek black quadcopter she bragged about at every community meeting, had finally done a nosedive straight into her own turquoise pool. 10 minutes earlier I'd been standing at my rust-red kettle grill, flipping bratwursts, nursing a sun-warmed Lone Star, and congratulating myself on an afternoon that smelled like hickory smoke and retirement. I'm Jack Noble, 45. Former electronic warfare tech for the Navy, current handyman, and unofficial grill king of Oak Ridge. My wife Laura calls me born to barbecue. Our 17-year-old daughter, Grace, calls me Dad, you smell like charcoal. Either way, I was minding my own business until Karen's buzzing. I swooped in for one last low pass, filming Grace like we were bonus features on a dusty Blu-ray. Most neighborhoods have that one resident who inhales control the way bees inhale clover. In Oak Ridge, it's Karen Hathaway, president of the Homeowners Association, self-appointed protector of property value, and owner of a laminated smile that could pass for a caution sign. Grass half an inch too high. Ticket. Mailbox painted the wrong shade of taupe. Warning. Holiday lights still twinkling on January 3rd. Emergency board meeting. Folks gritted their teeth and paid the $20 fines because they preferred peace over drama. Then Karen added a drone to her arsenal, and suddenly peace flew out the window, literally. Before diving into this wild HOA showdown, could I ask you for a small favor? If you're enjoying outrageous tales like these, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and comment with the city you're watching from. It really helps more folks find these stories. The first time I heard it, Grace and I were hanging bird feeders. A mosquito whine cut the sky, followed by a shadow drifting across the grass. The drone hovered 20 feet up, gimbal eye slow panning our yard like it was filming a crime documentary. I waved a garden trowel. The drone dropped lower, lens zooming straight at Grace. She looked up, yelped, and ducked behind me. The Hornet, Grace's name for it, tilted left, studded the patio furniture, then zipped off toward the pastel yellow colonial at the end of the block. Everybody knew who lived there. That evening I marched uphill and knocked on Karen's faux mahogany door. She opened it wearing a cashmere sweater the color of skim milk, leaning on a goblet of Chardonnay big enough to float a goldfish. Evening, I said, keeping my voice friendly. Pretty sure your drone wandered over our yard. She tilted her head like a parakeet. Yes, Jack, I saw. Routine safety sweep. Someone's trash bins were curbside for 2 hours. Rodents love open lids. It hovered over my daughter. If you've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't mind a quick flyover. Perfectly legal airspace. She sipped her wine, smile frozen, and eased the door shut. Monday morning the first ticket arrived, non-compliant grill cover fabric, apparently canvas offends the aesthetic. Tuesday we got garden hose visible from street. Wednesday, unauthorized wind chime, Grace's birthday present from her grandma. By Friday the mailbox looked like a Vegas slot machine spitting paper. Meanwhile the Hornet doubled its patrols, 6:45 a.m. at sunrise, 3:30 p.m. after school buses, 8:05 p.m. when porch lights flickered on. Laura yanked the clothesline down. Grace taped cardboard over her bedroom windows. Little kids refused to ride bicycles without helmets and Nerf blasters just in case. The air felt like prison yard tension. Thing is, Karen never researched her neighbors very well. 6 years back I designed counter-drone firmware for the Navy. I still had the gear, a spectrum scanner, a directional Yagi the length of a pool cue, spools of cokes, and a soldering iron that smelled like 2012. I dug out a cedar birdhouse Laura had planned to hang beneath the eaves and hollowed it like a Halloween pumpkin. In winter Raspberry Pi 0W, a software-defined radio hat. 2 18,650 batteries and a power switch disguised as a perch. The transmitter could spit a half-second burst on 2.4 GHz, nothing strong enough to tickle the FCC, just enough to give a nosy quadcopter a migraine. Next dawn the Hornet buzzed our oak tree. I sat under the patio umbrella pretending to scroll sports scores. When the drone glided overhead, I tapped pulse. The Hornet wobbled, dropped 3 feet, then corrected like a drunk regaining balance, and hightailed it back to Karen's deck. I killed the jammer and took a sip of coffee. 20 minutes later my phone chimed. Karen had blasted the block with a warning titled "Potential Foreign Interference, Be Vigilant." She urged neighbors to report unusual radio activity and attached a photo of blue sky with a red arrow, pointing at nothing, but paranoia is like fertilizer on crazy. By Wednesday her roof sported a contractor-grade mast disguised as a rustic cupola, plus 2 motion-activated porch cameras. And behind the camera installation stood Deputy Treasurer Arnold Blake, a man built like a pipe cleaner who smelled perpetually of copier toner. Arnold started tailing me in his beige Corolla. At the hardware store I'd catch him peeking over paint cans. One afternoon I found him kneeling beside my garage aiming a DSLR at the birdhouse gutter inspection. He squeaked, clipboard clutched like a shield, with a telephoto lens. Karen values thoroughness. He scuttled off, clipboard flapping, the neighborhood mood turned sour. Patty, silver-haired, 5'0", broke down in tears after the Hornet hovered above her hot tub deck. Hank, who did a tour in Nam, started mowing in camouflage. Laura whispered maybe we should involve the police. I said if I called the cops, they'd funnel the complaint right back to Karen because she was the HOA. Desperation breeds allies. Hank cornered me by the mailbox. Son, I busted radios in a jungle with less fuss than this. You got a plan? I gave him a wink. A day later a tangerine orange van rumbled into Oak Ridge. Marsh Mysteries, where small towns spill big secrets, splashed across both sides. Eileen Marsh, podcaster extraordinaire, had overheard Hank venting at the farmers market. She parked at Paddy's curb, unfolded a MIC boom, and recorded half the neighborhood. Paddy described the drone as a flying tattletale. Hank fantasized about surface-to-air solutions using Roman candles. Laura spoke about living in a fishbowl. I offered Eileen iced tea but kept the birdhouse under wraps. That night the episode, Sky Karen of Oak Ridge, landed on Spotify. By dawn it hit number 12 in the retiree true crime category. Karen's inbox exploded with strangers cheering her on and others begging her to quit. She answered with a 2000-word Nextdoor post titled, "Hysteria and Hipster Sensationalism," quoting aviation law, FCC guidelines, and the Bible. Arnold upvoted every paragraph. The HOA board couldn't ignore the circus anymore. Walter Thornton, a mild-mannered retiree who'd rather watch golf than referee neighborhood wars, scheduled an emergency meeting at the Rec Center gym. Half the subdivision showed up carrying popcorn tubs. Karen strutted to the podium in a blazer the color of wet cement, Arnold lugging foam core boards labeled Threat Matrix. She launched into a PowerPoint about digital infiltration. Audience eyes glazed in the projector glow when Q&A opened. I stepped forward, thumb drive in hand. "Mr. Noble," Karen sang, "did you submit a motion to speak?" "Didn't know I needed one to discuss safety," I said, slotting the USB. First clip, the Hornet idling outside Grace's window at 9 p.m., audible gasps. Second clip, Patty screaming while wrapping a towel as the drone filmed her hot tub. Jets, laughter mixed with anger. Third and final, Karen in her upstairs office, fishbowl wine glass in one hand, joystick in the other, cackling like a Bond villain, dead silence. Karen lunged, Arnold tried to block, foam core charts clattered like thunder. Walter banged an old wooden gavel dug from Lost and Found. 5-minute recess. Board into executive session. Neighbors whispered in clumps. Hank leaned over, grinning wide enough to show molars. "Slow clap, son." 10 minutes later the board shuffled back. Walter cleared his throat. Effective immediately, the HOA suspends Ms. Hathaway's enforcement privileges pending ethics review. Drone operations halted. Karen's face drained blanch white, public shame delivered, but humiliation alone wouldn't clip her wings. Next dawn the Hornet buzzed longer, lower, hovering over Arnold's own mailbox like a rabid pet. Karen couldn't resist a power move. She needed proof of sabotage. And I needed a finale. I dusted off an old spoof routine, Raven OS, the Navy used to trick hostile quadrotors into landing in the ocean. I reflashed the pie inside the birdhouse and mapped a ghost GPS corridor terminating smack dab in Karen's pool. Minimum altitude, 5 feet. Battery failsafe disabled. All I required was one clear evening. Grace called the plan Operation Belly Flop. Hank offered a firecracker salute. Laura worried Karen might have a meltdown. I said. Sometimes learning comes with a splash. Tuesday sunset painted the sky peach and lavender. Karen floated in her lead-lit pool on a neon flamingo, humming Phil Collins off-key. The Hornet traced lazy circles high overhead. I sipped lemonade, laptop glowing, telemetry rolling. Altitude 32 feet. Battery 72%. Birdhouse armed. I muttered, and that, right there, with the Hornet teetering at the edge of her property and Karen blissfully unaware, is where we'll press pause. I took a slow breath, steadied the cursor, and clicked inject. High above Karen's patio the Hornet hesitated, lights flickering like a pinball machine that just lost power. Its GPS now believed home was 12 yards southeast and 5 feet lower, exactly the center of that glowing lagoon. The drone glided forward, rotor wash raising tiny ripples. Karen, still rocking on her flamingo raft, noticed the change a half-second too late. She cupped a hand over her eyes, squinting into the pink sky. Return to pattern, she barked into her headset, thin voice echoing over the fence. The Hornet obediently banked, but its new pattern pointed straight at the pool. It dropped to 10 feet, 8, 6. Prop wash slapped the water, flipping floating tiki candles like frisbees. Karen scrambled upright, flamingo wobbling. Up, UP, she hollered, sloshing sangria down one leg. I issued the last command, throttle kill, and closed the lid on my laptop. Curse blut. The quadcopter hit dead center, blades still spinning. A geyser the size of a church baptism leapt skyward, drenching Karen from sunglasses to pedicure and rolling her raft like a barrel. Phil Collins died in mid-synth riff, speakers gurgling. Prop arm snapped, LEDs blinked twice, then darkness. I leaned back, breathing in the silence that followed, a silence so wide you could have floated a pontoon on it. Karen did not make her dawn rounds the next morning. She did, however, fire off a 6:02 a.m. email titled "Cyber Sabotage is a Crime." Everyone in the subdivision got the manifesto, 3 pages of caps lock fury about enemy frequency warfare, domestic terror tactics, and a promise to pursue full legal redress. Attached were grainy phone shots of her ruined drone cradled in a beach towel like a drowned catfish. By lunchtime neon green flyers were rubber banded to every mailbox, a blurry zoom of my cedar birdhouse. Circled in red, the headline "Sabotage Headquarters." Kids on summer break collected them the way kids used to trade baseball cards. One even pasted a flyer on Karen's lamppost while she watched from behind a curtain. That afternoon a pearl-white 18 Camaro roared up the block. The vanity plate read TB0NE. Out stepped Todd, a mighty T-Bone Mulligan, the late night commercial lawyer who promised payback with backbone. His suit was the color of a fire truck just waxed for a parade. He peacocked up my driveway flanked by Arnold, who clutched a folder thick as a phone book. "Cease and desist, T-Bone," announced, waving a crimson envelope like a flag on Iwo Jima. "You are hereby served for willful destruction of private property, emotional distress, and unauthorized use of electromagnetic spectrum." I peeled the flap with a butter knife. For typo-ridden pages threatened 8-figure damages and jail time up to 18 months per megahertz. Patty shuffled over from next door, holding a Tupperware of lemon bars. "Wild day, huh?" she said, offering the container to T-Bone. He sneered. Patty popped open the lid anyway. One misstep and powdered sugar drifted onto his lapel. T-Bone sputtered, Arnold fumbled for wet wipes, and a gust of July wind whisked page 3 of the summons under Hank's pickup tire. By the time T-Bone recollated, his aura of courtroom menace looked like a parade float after a rainstorm. He vowed to see me in front of a judge and marched back to the Camaro, still picking sugar off his cuffs. 2 evenings later Karen demanded a special security hearing on the communal green. Word spread, folks brought lawn chairs and cooler bags. Kids fashioned drone helmets out of showboxes, painted on googly eyes, and patrolled the grass making buzzing noises. Hank arrived wearing his old jungle hat and hoisting a pool noodle painted olive drab. Karen set up a folding table like a prosecutor's bench. Behind her, pinned to foam core boards by thumbtacks, were phone snaps of my innocent Robin house, zoomed until every cedar fiber looked like a felony. She jabbed a laser pointer at the photo. "This device," she declared, "is not avian real estate, it's a weapons platform." Murmurs. Someone opposite the crowd, Grace's buddy Tyler, cupped his hands and stage whispered, "Incoming Sparrow-grade missile." A wave of laughter toppled Karen's rhetoric before it left the dock. But Walter raised his clipboard for order. He cleared his throat, cheeks pink. After considering Ms. Hathaway's allegations, the board proposes an amendment, Bylaw 14C, prohibiting all aerial surveillance over private property without written consent from every adjacent homeowner. Violation carries a $1,000 fine per incident. Instantly dubbed the Karen Clause, show of hands, Walter said. 38 arms rose. 0 opposed. Even Arnold stayed glued to his side. A cardboard drone pinata, crafted by Paddy's grandkids, was hoisted and whacked. Confetti and red licorice rained like a ticker tape parade. Karen stormed away, and T-Bone, lurking near the refreshment table, stuffed cupcakes into his briefcase before scuttling after her. Without the hornet, the cul-de-sac exhaled. Paddy rehummed her wind chime, an outlaw no longer. Hank grilled. Shirtless to Sweet Home Alabama. Grace yanked cardboard off her windows, sunlight pouring in like mercy. Unity Day 2.0 happened the next Saturday. Crockpots lined trestle tables, lawn dart tournaments sprouted on driveways, and Eileen Marsh hauled in a 10-foot inflatable screen to loop super slow-motion footage of the drone belly flop, scored to Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. Laughter rose each time the splash reached its apex. Mid-party Sheila, the bin-counting treasurer, dinged a spoon on her lemonade jar. "We have a presentation," she said. She produced a walnut plaque laser-etched with a birdhouse. And the words for tactical bravery in the face of HOA tyranny, Jack Noble. A roar went up. Hank gave a two-finger salute, Paddy thrust a lemon bar aloft like a championship trophy, Grace filmed it all on her phone shouting speech. Speech. I kept it short, birds of a feather stick together, thank you. Roger Hathaway, looking 10 years older, wondered over holding a peace-offering six-pack of Shiner Bock. No hard feelings, he muttered. We clinked cans, aluminum forging the treaty Karen never could, Karen herself. Window shades drawn, porch lights dark, mailbox jammed with flyers she'd posted on other doors. A month later, a for sale sign leaned crooked in her lawn. Official. Story said she'd downsized to a condo downtown closer to culture. Unofficially, rumor had City Hall staff shunting her complaint email straight to spam. The saga might have ended there, but Karen made one last lunge, a small claims suit alleging emotional distress via intentional aquatic drone downing. County Courtroom 3 smelled of floor wax and fried patience. I showed up with Hank for moral support. Karen arrived in a business suit one size too tight, flanked by a wilted-looking T-bone. Judge Denise Alvarez skimmed the complaint, eyebrows climbing. Ms. Hathaway, you're suing because your drone fell into your own pool. Was forced, Karen snapped. Weaponized frequency warfare. The judge turned to me. Mr. Noble, response. I handed over Karen's own HOA meeting footage, the glass of wine, the joystick, the drone peeping at windows. Hank submitted printed decibel logs on vintage matrix paper. Paddy supplied a sworn statement, written in perfect cursive, about hot tub harassment. Judge Alvarez pinched her temples. Drone was unauthorized, flight violated privacy, and you chose to continue after suspension. She slid the file aside. Case dismissed. Court costs to plaintiff. Outside, Eileen's microphone waited. Karen fled to T-Bone's Camaro. Heels clacking like castanets. Paddy pressed a zucchini loaf into the judge's bailiff's hands. Word is Chambers smelled sweet for a week. 3 months later, Oak Ridge elected a new city council. Councilwoman Dana Ruiz rode Eileen's viral podcast clip straight into office. Her first motion, Ordinance 1289 banning recreational surveillance drones under 50 feet in residential zones. Public hearing packed City Hall with curious retirees. Ruiz cued the splash video. Applause drowned Karen's lone objection, muttered. From the back row, face half hidden under a broad brim hat, local news snagged me for a sound bite. I quoted my granddad's fireworks wisdom, aim away from faces, respect your neighbors, and keep a water bucket handy. 6 o'clock looped it 3 times and Grace turned the clip into her phone's notification tone, with adrenaline to spare. The block organized the first annual Oak Ridge Drone Safari, foam-board decoy drones hidden in yards, kids stalking with Nerf rifles, each kill worth $5 from sponsor Hank to the animal shelter. Arnold, finally redeemed, wore a zebra-striped umpire hat and blew a whistle every time foam darts hit styrofoam. Sunset tally, 16 decoys down, $5,000 raised, 0 property violations. Subscribers kept asking how a birdhouse could outsmart a store-bought drone. I finally posted the War Story Tech Appendix, Pi 0W running Raven OS, 500mm watt SDR hat, 9 dBi patch behind Cedar, spoof algorithm feeding fake GPS at -127 dBm. Failsafe home set to pull coordinates. Under 1 watt EIRP, never touching emergency bands, grey enough to match any HOA rulebook. Comment section exploded with grandpas swapping tales of CB radio pranks in 74. Now, when the sun drops behind the rooftops, we sip cold drinks on porches, wind chimes tingling in legal harmony. The air hum belongs to cicadas, not brushless motors. Grace and I finished a new drone, camera-less, basket underneath for snack delivery. We call it Chips Ahoy. Last week it parachuted a granola bar onto Patty's deck, landing softer than a butterfly. Where Karen used tech to dominate, we use it to say, "Hey, neighbor, want a cookie?" Every glance at that cedar birdhouse, now genuine robin real estate, reminds me privacy is worth a midnight soda burn and a stubborn streak. And every time the wind's right, I swear I can still hear the faintest plop of propellers meeting chlorinated water. Sweetest sound in Oak Ridge. If this 2-part backyard saga gave you a grin, share it with a buddy who loves a righteous comeuppance, and tell me where you're streaming from. I'll catch you on the next porch session. Until then, keep the grill hot, the birdhouse is innocent, and the skies blessedly quiet.